Welkom terug. Jy's ingeskakel by WINSLYN saam met my Divan Botha. BRONWYN WILLIAMS, ekonoom, sake-tendens, ontleder en ook vennoot by Flux Trends, sluit nou by ons aan om meer oor die tendens van die week te vertel. BRONWYN, welcome back to WINSLYN. I have to be honest, when you talk about something like targeted dream incubation, it sounds like something from a sci-fi movie. What exactly is it?
Well, it really is like something out of a movie. I mean, it's very similar to that Leonardo DiCaprio movie where you had Inception, right? Where people go into people's minds and then actually try and plant ideas into our minds while we are sleeping in order to, just like the movie says, actually get people to maybe do something the next day. And where it becomes targeted now is that we're starting to see it's not just researchers that are dabbling with this, trying to see if we can implant ideas, things like knowledge, for example. Everyone wants to be able to sort of go to sleep and then learn new things while you're sleeping, right? That's where the research kind of started. But now we're starting to see brands cottoning on because, as we know, we can't escape advertising. And advertisers are always quick to take advantage of new opportunities to tell us about their goods and services. And that's what we're seeing. Brands now using this cutting edge research, which involves both hardware and software and some much more sort of old-fashioned physical contact to try and get us to dream about their products. Sure. So even when you go to bed at night, you're not going to be able to escape the billboards on the inside of your head.
Wow. So MIT is researching TDI through the use of 3 different devices. Briefly, what are they and what is the aim of this research?
Yeah, so MIT is trying to find out what we can actually learn in our sleep, and they're trying to actually get two-way communication out of our minds, because obviously we think about things, and the one thing they want to do is to see how we can put ideas into our brain from the real world or from our day-to-day lives, and the other thing they're trying to do is to try and get the ideas we have while we are sleeping out of our minds, because quite often we dream about creative solutions to problems we might have in our life, or new narrative ideas that could be used in our art if we are writers or creative directors. So they're trying to see if we can get information that currently resides in our dream world into our consciousness and back out again. And to do that, they're kind of using 3 different devices. The first one would be like a headband that basically tries to monitor your brain waves. Those EEG devices or those brain-machine interfaces, I mean, we're seeing them quite a lot. In fact, they've been around for quite a while now, and they sort of pick up your brainwave patterns and see when you get into certain types of sleep to know when you are dreaming. They also use like a mask that you put over your eyes so they can monitor your eyelid movement, because that, of course, again, can tell whether we're going into that rapid eye movement sleep, which is the sleep we have when we are actually dreaming. The third sort of device they use is the interface, and this is where they are trying to essentially program us. So not only monitor what's going on in our mind, but actually input and output data that can transfer from our brain to computers. And this again sounds very science fiction-y, but it's been a few years now that you can now watch effective advertising, which in fact takes cues like your facial recognition in terms of what mood or emotion you're experiencing, and they can then sort of automatically adapt content to your mind by using, again, these EEG devices. So it really is becoming almost an Internet of People thing, right? And it can be quite scary because this is going on at a sort of subconscious level. We don't necessarily have full control over what we're dreaming, which is why some other researchers are also trying to play around with ideas like lucid dreaming. And this is a technique and a tactic that psychologists and psychiatrists have used, again, for many decades to try and get us to try and take control of our dreams and to almost be subconsciously aware of what we're dreaming.
So, BRONWYN, it's one thing for a brand to say, well, you know, I'd like to kind of implant some ideas around my brand in your head, and it's obviously profit-driven. But surely at one stage, consumers are going to say to us, no. Yes, you need to make profit, but there's some intrusion in my, my personal space. Do you think that's going to happen?
Well, I'm sure it is. At the moment, the sort of brands that have been involved with this include Xbox and Coors Beer in the United States. They involved like people getting enrolled in a trial program, and they would consume brand content just before bedtime that was sort of linked with some sort of ambient cue, whether it's a piece of music or a particular sound or a particular touch that was supposed to associate the product with your sort of subconscious mind. And they were quite successful in sort of incepting these ideas into sleep. Now, whether we're going to sort of voluntarily sign up for that, maybe we're going to have to be paid or compensated in order to allow our brands to be essential, or our dreams to be sponsored by a brand. But there's also something else we should be aware of as consumers, that if we use devices like Amazon Alexa or Google Home or Apple Siri, all these voice-activated personal assistants are picking up information from you. So they know what content you are consuming and what the other triggers in your environment are. So they'll know you were reading a particular article, say, about pens, at the same time as you were listening to music from a particular artist.
Yeah.
And therefore, clever advertisers, if you leave those devices on at night, could already re-trigger the sort of content you were videoing or you were watching by playing those other ambient cues, because these technologies are saying that this is, in fact, possible. So watch out. All those devices, if they can listen to you, that means they can hear you too, and you might be giving away a bit more than you intended.
Bronwyn, fascinating and scary times. Thanks for your time.